This week we explore the mental side of the game with the leading mental performance coach in Virginia. And we do it all for the love of the game. Today, I'm going to have a different introduction than I normally have. Normally, I come with all this high energy, yelling, screaming, and all this other stuff just to get people hyped for the podcast. But today, we have a different type of guest. We have a different type of guest where words are important. And here's why I'm not doing all that yelling and screaming and all that other stuff, because sometimes you start speaking things that are not important. You start speaking in cliches, and this is not the guest to speak in cliches with. This is the guest that I really encourage you to listen to what she has to say. She can help your athlete. She can help your program. She is a mental performance coach. Her name is Gladine Frasso, but we call her Coach G. Welcome, Coach G, to our podcast, For the Love of the Game.
Thank you so much. What an introduction. I really appreciate that. And it's an absolute pleasure to be a guest on your podcast. I, did a little bit of research and saw the past guests and saw how much you are into learning more about basketball and everything involved in basketball. So it's an absolute pleasure being here on this podcast.
All right. Well, thank you so much. Coach Fowler, I feel left out because y'all both came from this really, really cool event, this basketball event. Coach Fowler, how was where did you go, Coach Fowler, and tell us a little bit about that event.
So we went to the She Got Game Classic, which is up at the St. James. They have a couple other facilities that they used as well. We did go to Catholic University on Friday to watch a couple games. One of our former guests, Cornelius Sneed, was coaching his team, his Chatham Hall team. So we caught them on Friday night. But it's I would have a hard time finding I guess maybe the Nike tournament out in Phoenix in a couple weeks would be the only one that I would say is comparison that I know of where you're going to see as many of the top female basketball players in the country. Last night we caught the game of the year. It became the game of the year afterwards, but it was St. James versus Spire out of Ohio. And the top player, Sanaya Hall, was playing against Jordan Jackson, who's number 7, Gigi Banks, who to me probably is the number 1 prospect in the country, and regardless of class. And Ariana Cradle, who's going to Louisville. Ariana and Sanaya were on Spire, and Jordan and Gigi were on St. James. And that was a phenomenal game, man. So if you catch any clips of that one, it came down to the wire. St. James had it pretty much the whole game, and then it came down to the wire, and Sanaya just went off in the fourth quarter. And the fact that she's going to play with Juju next year is crazy. I'm picking USC for the national championship next year. I'm already making my next year prediction right now. Is USC for the national championship next year.
Who ended up winning that game?
Go ahead.
Who won the game?
It ended up being Spire won the game. St. James had it the whole time, and then Spire, Sanaya hit like 3 threes back to back, bang, 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 and next thing, it was back and forth the rest of the game, with last 3 minutes of the game, and Spire pulled it out. Nice. So it was a good game. Dawn Staley was in the house. Actually, Brenda Freeze. A lot of just about every college coach. There was an earlier game, IMG. They played Bullis. That court was loaded. They crowded around the whole court, and the coaches were there and all of that. It was really good, man. I mean, we make a list of the top 100 players that are going to be there. So we go through the ESPN Hoop Girls list and find all the players that are going to be there, and we highlight the point guards so Italy can go and watch other point guards play and whatnot. But we also try to catch as many of the top players as well, and Italy goes and takes pictures with them and networks. Follow me back on Instagram. So it worked out. It was good. It was an awesome event. So I won't steal the show here. I'll let Christy give her take on it. But it's a very awesome event, Tony. And I apologize for not telling you about it, man. I should have. Your daughters would have loved it, man.
Okay. Coach G, what were your thoughts? What did you experience there?
Yeah, so I experienced some high-level basketball being played. And you would think with me being a mental performance coach, mental toughness coach, to athletes, girls basketball players. You would think that I'm in the know of all the top players. I'm really not. I really just stick to what I do, and I'm just very, shielded a little bit. And hearing other coaches telling me, "Hey, that person is number 4 in the country. That person is number 7 in the country." So being able to be there in that atmosphere and be there with the other coaches and seeing them, it was just amazing. A great atmosphere. My team played, and we went 2-0 there. So I'm an assistant coach for a girls high school basketball team. So again, it was nothing but love, a great atmosphere, and I'm glad that I had the chance to witness that high level play of basketball.
Amen, Coach G. Well, that's why we have this podcast and what we said off camera. No one knows everything, and
Yeah.
that's the benefit of this podcast. We're bringing it all together. Just as a synopsis of that, or just as a reminder of that, I was talking to a great coach, and he did a great job coaching this week, and he wanted Courtney to play for him. And then I said, "Do you have any plans of making your team an EYBL team?" And then he kind of paused. He said, "What's an EYBL team?" And I was like, whoa. Because Coach Fowler, he did a good job coaching. I promise you he did. Coach Fowler's eyes got this big. For those who didn't see, his eyes got this big. But I mean, I promise you, Coach Fowler, he did do a good job coaching, and I was interested. And then I heard that, I was like, ooh, that's, none of us know everything. So
Yeah.
that's the benefit of this podcast. We can bring all the information together.
Make sure y'all like and subscribe for the love of the game with Tony and Davis.
So, Coach G, we ask this of everybody. We begin every interview with, how and when did you fall in love with basketball?
Okay, so I was born in Brooklyn, New York, and didn't really play much basketball. My parents would watch TV sometimes. I knew of the sport, and it wasn't until I was about 14 years old. We moved from New York and we moved over to Pennsylvania. And in my new school, I was the only, African American there. And one thing that kids want when they move to a new school is they want friends. They truly want friends. And so at that point, I'm like, I want friends. I'm new. I'm all by myself here. And so at one point, one of the popular groups of girls came over to me, and you could just tell they were the popular group. And they came over and they said, "You know what? You're very, very tall. Do you play basketball? We're all in a basketball team." And at that moment, I had a split second decision to, answer. And so I was like, of course I play basketball. Look how tall I am. I've never played basketball ever. And so that was around August. And, obviously basketball season rolls around October, November. And so when that time came, October, November, I was horrible. I was shooting at the wrong basket. When you need to get to a point A to point B to point C, you have to dribble the ball. I was actually carrying the ball like it was a football. But the thing about it, I was having fun. I was not the best, but there was something about the game of basketball that I loved. And so my last game in that middle school year, I scored a career high, which was 6 points. And I just fell in love with it. I'm like, wow, this is what I need to do. I just need to grab a rebound, put it back up, be intense, have energy. Oh, I could do that.
Right.
And so that summer between my 8th grade and my 9th grade year, I asked my parents for a basketball hoop. Well, we did have a basketball court right near my house. No one was ever there. So I walked there every single day and I practiced everything that I seen on TV. And that's when I started falling in love with Kobe Bryant, Allen Iverson, and Vince Carter. Those were my top 3. And Kevin Garnett a little bit. I just kept watching them on TV. I would practice the skills that they were doing. Vince Carter had an amazing jab step in one game. And I was like, I want to learn that. And so that was one of my go-to moves, a jab step. And I was just so quick. So I would jab and be able to dribble left or jab left and then dribble right and go straight to the basket. And so just falling in love with the game, knowing what a goaltending was, knowing what 3 seconds in the paint was. And so that's how I fell in love with the game. And I begged my parents for a basketball hoop and they bought it, and it was outside of our house. And that's where I spent every single one of my days over the summer just to get good at basketball. So that's why I fell in love with basketball.
That is awesome. That is awesome. And I think all of that love paid off well, because I think you went on at one of your college or one of your schools where you became the leading scorer of all time. Did I read that?
Yes. So my high school team, so like I said, 8th grade went from not knowing how to play basketball at all. And then 9th grade, not only did I play on varsity, I started on varsity. So that could tell you how much work I put in over that summer. I literally would videotape the basketball games. And then I would rewind when I will see a move that I think I could accomplish, and then watch it over and again, pause it, watching where their foot placement was, watching how high they had the ball, watching where they shot the ball up the glass. And then after I collected that information, I will take that information with me and go to the basketball court, look at what I've written down and then just practice those moves. So my practice wasn't just let me go to the courts and put up a few shots, do moves that I knew I wasn't going to do in a game. It was something called deliberate practice, meaning I knew exactly what I was going to do, what I wanted to work on, how long I wanted to do it, and just doing it with intentional focus.
Amen. And I don't think our audience understands, because I think you was doing all of that before YouTube, right?
For YouTube. That's why I said I had the videotape. I'm not sure if they know what VHS is, but I had it, watching it, had to pop it back in, rewind, and watch all over again. Like Kevin Garnett, one move I stole from him was when he'll back down the post and he'll do a quick shoulder fake to the side and come back and do a nice sweet jumper. That was one of my go-to moves as well. So Kevin Garnett played a huge role in how I played in the post. Iverson, I was not a guard, so I wasn't doing the crossovers and but it was his grit. It was his attitude going into games. That's what I took from his game. Kobe Bryant, again, his attitude, how he faced against his opponent, just being able to show up and not letting missed shots affect your mood or affect how you bounce back. So I took a lot from all of those players.
Awesome. Now,
yes, I'm sorry to answer your question. Yes, and then I started as a freshman for my high school basketball team, and then I graduated as an all-time leading scorer with 1,796 points.
That is incredible.
All right.
That is incredible. Any thoughts, Coach Fowler, on that? That's a lot of hard work there, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it is, but she picked the great players, signature moves, because my daughter right now is working on the Jordan signature shimmy,
nice.
and trying to master that. She's been out there constantly just watching the foot, watching the jab, and then and how he'll lean back on his opponent to create space.
To create that space and still where they were. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And if they push up on you too much, then you got them pretty much at that point. So she's trying to master. She's trying to master that right there. So that kind of reminded me when you say you just watched it. Now she has the luxury of YouTube, so she can do. She can pause it and don't have to do the whole rewind
thing and then catch up. Like, oh, where was I? Yeah. So.
Right. So, no, that's good stuff. And then the Mamba mentality. We've talked about the Mamba mentality several times on this podcast. I think Tony doesn't feel guilty about his daughter's trying to establish that mentality now after a couple of those conversations.
Amen.
Hey, did you know there's this little button? It's right here on the video, and it reads SUB SCRIBE. And when you click that little button, an angel gets its wings. For real.
Now, Coach G, all that hard work, you would think that would that would lead to a lot of college letters, but then also depending on where high school you were at and what looks did that give you for college, and what opportunities did that open up?
Yeah, so I had probably 5 D1 offers. The ones on top of my head I could think about was Bucknell, Hofstra, ODU, Boston College. Those are the top ones I could remember that kept sending me letters. And then I probably had 2 D2 offers and probably 1 D3. The D2 offer that I really liked, and the reason why I went to Miller's University, that was really close to home. I'm very close with my family. It was only 45 minutes from my house, and I just felt it was the perfect fit. I thought that I could deliver right away when I went to Miller's University, and that just ended up being the school that I wanted to go to. So I committed to Miller's University. Okay.
All right. Now, how did you, when you were done with college, how did you transfer from being a college to being, and we want to talk about the 2 different types of coaches. First, how did you make that transfer to being a basketball coach? When and how did you do that?
So after college, I entered in corporate America, and I felt the same challenges that I felt in basketball, but it was different because it's like real life now. So some of the lessons that I learned in my basketball career, I was able to apply in corporate America. But then I missed basketball, obviously. So I was just doing skills and development training at that same park that I told you that I would go to. It wasn't even a park. It was just a basketball court. Like I said, no one was ever there. So it was out in the cut. So I was able to go there every single time. So I was holding one-on-one skills and development sessions with athletes, and I was only charging them $10. I wasn't getting rich off of it. It was just something I knew that I had a skill. And so when I was working my big girl job, people knew me because I went back home. So they was like, oh, wait, you're Gladine St. Julian. You were always in the paper. We always read about you. I'm like, yeah. And so you will have a dad or two come over and say, hey, well, my child played basketball. Can you help her out? Absolutely. So that's how I gained my clients, because people knew of me. It was no advertising. We didn't have no Instagram back then. So I was just holding one-on-one skills and development training at the park. And that was it for about a good couple of months. And then how I transitioned to mental performance or mental skills is because the athletes, I saw they had the skills. I mean, I was working with them. They had the nice jump shots, they had the nice crossovers and all that good stuff. And then when I would ask them, hey, how did the game go? Or ask their parents, how did the game go? It was, she was scared out there. She got 3 quick fouls and then she never recovered from that. And it was just like, wow. So I was just telling them my own personal stories on how I built my resilience, how I didn't allow failure to hold me back, or how when I lost my confidence, and that's something we could talk about later, when I lost my confidence, I told them how I was able to get that back. And so I found my sessions being more conversational rather than doing the physical piece. And then I started getting messages from the parents like, hey, whatever you're doing is working. She's out there confident. I'm like, what changed? Like, did I push her harder? I'm like, no, it's actually the message I was telling her. And so that was back in 2012, 13. And so I was just went online, like, I didn't even know what to type. I was typing stuff like, how do I work with kids and their mindset, or mental toughness and all that good stuff. And stuff started popping up. They didn't have much certifications like they do back then, like they do now, but just finding things online, I'm like, okay. And it's funny, there's a skill called visualization, and it's basically you visualizing yourself playing your best. And I was actually doing that back in the day, but I didn't know that was a mental skill. And I'm like, well, I was actually doing that. So there's a name to it. And there's actually steps on how to do this. And then positive self-talk, that is a mental skill as well. I'm like, wow, I was doing that same thing. So it was just like finding research and evidence-based research that backed up the things that I was doing. So now I was able to do it in a more structured way. So finding things online, reading the books, getting certified. One thing I knew for sure, I was not going back to school for a sports psychology degree. I was not doing that. So, but then I knew there was a difference between a sports psychologist and a mental performance coach. I'm like, you know what? I could rock with being a mental performance coach. And every time I have a new athlete or work with a new athlete, work with a team, I let them know, look, I'm not a sports psychologist, letting them know the difference. This is what I do. And they're like, we're good. We're still going to rock with you. So we still want you to come work with our team. So, but that's how I got into working with athletes and mental performance.
Awesome.
Phil Jackson, the Zen master himself, used visualizing good, positive play with the Bulls, and I'm assuming with the Lakers as well.
He did it. And he used the same sports psychologist.
Yep. So that's pretty cool. I always wondered about that. How it kind of played out. But if he used it and they won like they won,
Yeah. They slaughter teams out there, and it just shows you that you may have the talent, but there's another level. It's the mental piece. And what I found with some of the athletes, especially in today's age, they want that Mamba mentality. They want to show the grind. But when I'm really talking to them, I'm like, you're not really about that life. Like, what are you putting on social media? You're not really about that life, because I'm telling you simple things that you need to do, and you're skipping your routines. You're not doing it consistently, but you want to make it look good online. I'm like, you're not going to use me like, oh, I'm working with Coach G. If you're going to work with Coach G, we're going to work, right? It's not something to say, oh, I'm working with a mental performance coach. That's not how it works. It's boring, but it works, and you have to be consistent with it. If you're not about the consistency life, if you're not about the boring life, then you're really not about elevating yourself. Elevating yourself. So. Awesome. That's one thing that I've seen with most athletes. Not all of them, but most athletes that I work with.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for the love of the game.
Now, for a person who would get confused on that, and I'll be honest, even when I was doing research for this, I did get confused on it. Can
Yeah.
you educate us on the distinction between a sports psychologist and a mental performance coach?
Yeah, it's very simple. It's very simple. So a sports psychologist is like a licensed mental health professional, and they treat anxiety, they treat depression in addition to performance. And me as a mental performance coach, I'm really focusing on your performance and building those mental skills like focus, building your confidence, building resilience. And I teach them the mental skills like visualization, teaching them mental skills like powerful or positive self-talk and goal setting. So that's that distinction there. I'm not treating depression. And like I said, I'm always upfront with my athletes, and let them know the difference between the two, and let them decide and determine which path they want to go. This is what I do, and this is what a sports psychologist will do. And I think that's benefits to both, right? In a whole nutshell, and I would say a lot of athletes may not want to work with either because they would think there's something wrong with them. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you seeking help. That is not a weakness. That is actually a strength to realize, hey, I'm not where I want to be or need to be from a mental standpoint. Let me go ahead and get some help. For example, if you're not where you want to be when it comes to dribbling and shooting, what are you going to do? You're going to go find a trainer that's going to help you shoot and dribble. Same thing with your mindset. If you're struggling with building your confidence, if you're struggling with building discipline, or you're struggling realizing, okay, how can I achieve my goals? You go get help. So actually getting help or working with a mental performance coach or a sports psychologist is not a sign of weakness. It's actually a sign of strength. Being quiet though and struggling in silence, I wouldn't say that's a weakness, but it's not working to your advantage. We need to make sure that we understand where I am, where I want to go, and how do I fill that gap.
Okay. Now I know this from a path in other professions that I've been a part of, that there can be various paths to accreditation and not all are equal.
Mm-hmm.
For someone who would like to follow in your footsteps, what accreditation pathology do you recommend the most? Which one?
So if you see a coach out there, a sports psychologist, there's a tons of sports psychologists out there who have their license, who are now creating programs for mental performance. So creating programs to be a coach just like myself. What I would do now is I would look at the track record, looked at who they worked with, success stories. You know, we are blessed to have everything at our fingertips. So just go down a rabbit hole and Google people and find out what they're about. That's one thing to go to do. If you're set on one person, really research them. Don't just research their sales page. Everybody can make a sales page look nice. You really got to do your research and Google that person. I would also look at the benefits of the program. So the program that I went to initially was someone named Brian Kane. He's a mental performance coach, and he has a certification called NPM certification, so mental performance mastery. So he was someone that I went to in regards to certification. And then what I found, and this is my own personal experience, is that everybody was teaching the mental game the same. Everybody was saying the same thing online. And I'm like, oh, okay, I got to say it like that. But I felt so uncomfortable. And that's another way I realized that my realness, the way I'm so authentic, that is what separates me. Am I saying that's what makes me the best? I don't know who the best is out there, but I'm saying that's what separates me and that's what makes me get results, because I'm authentic. I'm not regurgitating what other people are saying online. I found this, like, you can find there's so many who's just saying the same thing online over and over and over again, but I'm not sure. Are they good or are they bad? I don't know what type of mental performance coaches they are. They probably get really great results, but I myself did not want to sound like all the other mental performance coaches online. And I was like, you know what? My authenticity is what makes me me. And I think that's what every coach, no matter what field you're in, don't try to be like somebody else. Everybody's taken. You know, you have to live in your true self and be authentic and deliver the material the way you would want it to be delivered to you. And if it's different from other people, then so be it. But I think that's when my business started growing, when I was like, you know what, G, you're not them, you're not this person. And it's people who I've seen have some success in the mental performance industry. And I was like, okay, I need to copy them. It's not about copying. It's like seeing what they're doing well, take it and then remix it to be your own. That's what I found that's really helped me become the mental performance coach that I am today. So hopefully that answered your question. If you want to start with mental performance coaching, I would highly recommend Brian Kane.
Brian King. That is awesome. That is awesome. It'll be 8 years, Coach. I got to get my babies to college. So, but
Okay.
if my babies are in college, I am interested in.
Okay. Well, hopefully we will still be connected within those 8 years.
You'll be my accreditor by then. So.
Okay. Sounds good.
Coach Fowler, I can see when you're interested in saying something. Go ahead, Coach.
No, it really piqued my interest with her talking about, the copycat, mentality with a lot of things. Because sports, more specifically basketball is cookie cutter. And I think it's when she pointed on the fact that, she tries to be genuine and herself and her authentic self. In doing this, to me that stands out because that's what I look for, really with anybody. Nobody would probably look at me walking in with 2 diamond studs, talking the way I talk and say, "Oh, that's an English teacher." And sometimes people are wondering, like, man, but the kids relate to me.
Yep. That's
Because
it.
they can tell when I'm being my authentic self.
Right.
And I'm not coming in trying to be somebody fake for 7 hours every day.
Right.
And how do you reach those kids, man? How do you get the most difficult ones? Because I'm being myself,
Being myself, yes.
And so I think, especially in listen, I'm not going to fake the funk. I think Tony is probably the more experienced one today. He always, oh, Mr. Coach Fowler is the one that knows, this is. Well, today I'm not going to fake the funk like I know anything about this topic, and because I know his daughters are involved or whatnot, and so he knows a little bit more, or whatnot. But it stands out to me, and I would assume that what you do, you have to be authentic for people to be able to open up and for people to be able to relate to you and get something from what you're offering.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always tell my athletes and my parents when they consider working with me, like working with me in my one-on-one sessions is literally like having a conversation with like your cool aunt or a good friend, but someone who's going to check you when I feel like you're not, living the standard, or if I feel you're cutting corners. Like if you want a coach to tell you everything you want to hear, I'm not the coach for you. If you want a coach that's going to hold you accountable and tell you the things you need to hear, sign up, because that's me. And when you see it, the things that I tell you, the things you need to hear is the things that's best for you. And so, and I've never had an athlete that's like, I can't do this, you're too real for me. It's like they relate more, they open up more. And I found that to be my secret sauce, is just being relatable, but holding them accountable. And every single one of my athletes have shared things with me that I will, talk to parents. I'm like, yeah, so how are you handling this situation that such and such said? And they're like, wait, what? We didn't know that was going on. I'm like, oh, all right, well, you know what I mean? Because they'll just open up, and it's not like top secret stuff. It's just stuff they feel comfortable telling me that I could help them with, whether it's from my training or whether it's something that I've experienced myself.
Mm-hmm.
That is great.
Awesome.
That is great. And well, Coach, I have an off the script question.
Please tune in, like and subscribe for the love of the game with Tony and David.
Because I consider myself an amateur psychologist, and because I really believe in hypnosis and the human mind and all of those things. Is teaching and coaching good free throws? I kind of view that as something different than some of the other skills, because it's kind of like shooting in-game three-pointers and shooting, some of the other things you have to do in a game. You're moving at a very rapid pace, but I realize a lot of times shooting free throws, you have to kind of calm everything down and settle down. And there are people I've seen, especially as they're younger, they can be a great three-point shooter, and then they get on the free throw line and can't settle down. As you as a mental performance coach, do you have, are there any special techniques regarding helping kids with free throws that is a little bit different and set apart, or am I just making that distinction up in my own head and you don't have no feelings?
No, you're not making that. You're not making that at all. When you're shooting free throws, you are pumped up. it's high level. You're probably went up and down the court probably 5 times to catch a ball, then you're shooting, right? When you're shooting a free throw, you're all by yourself. You're on that line, right? It's not going back and forth. And so, same way I teach a pregame routine, there is a free throw routine. What is your routine for you to make sure that you're shooting your free throws? Donovan Mitchell. Next time you watch him play, you just Google Donovan Mitchell, like how he shoot his free throws. If you just Google that in, he stands there and he takes a nice deep breath. That breath right there is what's going to calm you down and shoot your free throws. And typically, when my athlete is struggling with free throws, I always tell them, let's do that breath to calm your nervous system down. And then let's say a word of, I got this. And there's 2 types of self-talk. There's motivational self-talk and there's instructional self-talk. So you could say a motivational self-talk like, I got this, it's going in. Or you could do instructional self-talk of follow through. When it comes to free throws, I like more the instructional, because if you tell yourself just follow through, you're following through. So it's that deep breath, calm yourself down, and then that instructional self-talk of I got this. And so that's what I would recommend for those who are great 3-point shooters but struggle at the free throw line.
Awesome.
And basketball is 90% mental and 10% physical.
Yeah.
And the free throw is a perfect example of that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you shoot a free throw a million times in a gym by yourself, and it's like, oh, I'm a great free throw shooter.
Yeah.
But then when the mental aspect kicks in, and you're standing in front of a gym full of people, especially if you're in a gym where there's people behind the backboard,
right? People behind the backboard,
that changes the mental aspect of it all. And so, so basketball is 90% mental, 10% physical, and that's a perfect example of that.
Yep. It's 90% mental, 10% physical, but we work on the 90% piece only 10% of the time.
Exactly.
So, that's why for me, it's so important to really have your free throw routine. And it could be anything you want. I mean, it can't be crazy. I think one time I saw someone, I don't know, doing a backflip for their free throw routine. Like, let's not get crazy. Make sure you have a pregame routine that's going to a free throw routine that's getting you locked in and focused at that rim. For me, my free throw routine is I spun the ball twice, took a deep breath, and I just looked at the orange rim and knew I just had to get it over that orange rim. So the orange rim is something I always looked at, and I was just locked in on the orange rim at all times and made sure that my follow through was up. That was my free throw routine. And so I highly recommend athletes who struggle with free throws, first practice your free throws. Not only practice them, but practice them in high pressure situations. So if you have a friend or two, have them at the free throw line with you, saying stuff in your ear or making a lot of noise. You want to make sure that you're practicing in an environment that you may be shooting that same free throw in a game.
Amen. I remember Alonzo. He had this little movement that he would do before he would shoot his free throw. Amen.
Yeah. I think with Steve Nash. I saw Steve Nash's. Yeah, I actually implemented Steve Nash's free throw routine. He took a fake free throw first and then asked for the ball, and then he shot his free throw. Jason Kidd gave a kiss to the rim. I believe he did that for his son or his wife. I forget which one, but he did a kiss at the rim. So, yeah. Awesome.
Now, what impact Coach Fowler accidentally stumbled onto one of my future questions, and that's good, Coach Fowler. What impact has George Mumford had on your professional development, and how has his work influenced your approach to mental performance coaching? Because as I was doing research for this, George Mumford came up in mental performance again and again and again, and I believe he was the one that Phil Jackson used, if I'm not.
Yep. Phil Jackson used him with the Bulls, and he used him with the Lakers. And so with Kobe Bryant being one of my favorite players, right, I would study everything that he did, how he did it, why he did it, and it's very important when you study people, don't study of how they did it, but study why they did it as well. That's key there. So, and then I realized, of course, with studying Kobe, and Michael Jordan is my GOAT of all time, Kobe is second. And so with them being my top 2 is like, okay, what did they do? And so reading all about them, obviously I'm going to learn more about the Bulls and more about the Lakers, and then realizing, okay, they had a mental performance coach, George Mumford. I'm like, okay. So read his books, and what really stuck out to me is our response to events that happen to us. I think that is key. First, we have to be aware of how you respond to certain things. And there's a difference between reacting and responding. Reacting is by impulse. You're using your first thought to actually react to something. So if someone pushes you, your first reaction would be probably to push them back or put your hands up or start yelling. But then responding is you deliberately taking a second or two to really react logically. What is my best response that I could do here? It's probably take a breath, walk away. And the more that you do that, the more automatic it becomes. And so for me, what I had to do is really identify my triggers. What are the things that made me extremely upset? How do I typically respond and how do I want to respond? So awareness piece is really important in mental performance as well. So to answer your question, George Mumford really emphasized responding with consciousness, responding with intention instead of reacting to certain things. So that's my main takeaway that I got from George Mumford. And it's a game changer because we can't control the things that happen to us, but we can 100% control how we respond to it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now, pattern recognition is a common way of sorting information and learning quickly. As you work with new clients, do you see a pattern emerging regarding the types of problems you encounter and the types of personalities that athletes are developing today?
Yeah, so the number one, I would say, hurdle that I would see, I don't really like to call them problems, I'll say hurdles or roadblocks that I see with athletes is just a lack of confidence. And it's in my younger athletes, it's the lack of confidence. And when I dig deeper of finding out why they lack confidence, it's mostly things that's outside their control. And it's most likely parents, or it's the fear of what other people are going to say about them or what other people think about them. So that is something I always see, no matter who comes to me. And again, it's mostly the younger kids that really are focused on things outside the control, like the parents and the crowd or teammates or coaches.
Okay. I'll tell you this, most people know I'm also a pastor. I really think churches need mental performance coaches for their job. You know what I'm saying? so, so that, like there should be a mental performance coach. Like, how many emails did you get done today? How many projects did you get done today? Did you stay focused? That we need mental performance coaches is all.
Yeah.
I really believe. I believe in your profession.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah, absolutely. And with my older clients, you would find it's a lack of structure and a lack of routine. So I help my athletes develop their morning routines, their pregame routines, and I help them develop their PM routines. It's so important that you bookend your days. You want to wake up in a pretty good mindset. And how you do that is by creating a legit morning routine. You don't want to roll out of bed and hit your alarm and like, I got to do this. If you have that set pregame routine that's automatic, it's setting you up for success. It's setting you up in the right mindset. And then closing out your days. You're having a routine to, just to decompress at the end of the night and look forward to the next day. So for me, for the rest of the week, I already have my, week plan because that's what I do every Sundays. And every night I have my special nighttime routine that helps me to prepare for the next day. So my older athletes, you see that they struggle with being organized, having time management, and just being able to have those routines set in their days.
okay. Now, it's important for me to set up the context to this next question. Um, I want my audience to know that you come recommended by Coach Greg Willis, who's a well-known coach in the area.
Yeah.
Then also, from everything I've seen, I would definitely recommend you to everyone. But I also want to give folks a warning label as well. Amen. And the warning label, as I did the research for this podcast, in a world where people often speak in cliches and they avoid true accountability, because I have friends who are personal trainers, and like I have one guy who quit personal training because of people avoiding personal responsibility or true accountability. In doing research for this podcast, I've noticed, and matter of fact, I'm even a little, I was a little nervous on how I say things in this podcast. Okay. I've noticed you hold people accountable for their words, and that you are very unique in the world today, because I personally feel we live in a world full of bullcrappers, and people are bullcrapping themselves. I mean, I bullcrap myself as well. And I mean, we're just a world full of bullcrappers where everybody knows what's wrong with you and no one tells you. And then you just go through the world and like, you got this right here and no one tells you. And Coach G, is the type of person to tell you. And to be honest with you, in pastoring, I'm the type of person to tell you as well, but it's led to a very rough life for me. So my question to you is, how do you navigate of when to hold people accountable and when to let it slide? Because it's tough, because you can't hold everybody accountable, because if you did, there's political ramifications for that.
Yeah.
So how do
So
you discern when to do it, Coach G?
Yeah. So with my athletes, when I'm hired as a mental performance coach for my athletes, there's absolutely no area where I let anything slide. Absolutely not. It's not going to happen, because if you come to me, that means you're serious, and that's why I have a consultation to see if we're a good fit, right? And so if you come to me, that means you have big goals. That means you want to get better. So why in the world would I let anything slide when you say you want to do this, but then you're slacking on this, right? Everybody could talk, but not everyone is going to follow up with action. And so for me, as a mental performance coach, you could call me an accountability coach as well, because I feel like I'm not going to sit here and allow you to bullcrap your way through our sessions. I'm not here for the money. I'm here to make an impact. And if you want to change how you're thinking, if you want to change how you're performing, I'm going to help you with that. But let's not waste my time. Let's not waste your time. Right. So there's no letting things slide when I'm working with my one-on-one athletes. And am I asking them to do crazy things? Absolutely not. Everything that we develop, a plan that we develop it together. And I'm always saying at the end of the creation of the plan, is this something you believe that you can do? Is this too much or is this too little? So we find that happy medium where whatever I'm asking them to do, it pushes them a little bit, but it's nothing too crazy or it's not too soft for them. I like to challenge my athletes. And again, it's where they're comfortable with. And I always make sure that we are in agreement and alignment with what we would like for them to do. And I always get the parents involved. As you know, I always send you the session notes of what we talked about, because I don't want you both as parents to be blindsided of, wait, this is what you all were talking about. So I always work with my athletes, and holding them accountable is something I feel is very important, because if not, I'm not going to hold you accountable. Who's going to do it?
Right.
Right. And parents have a lot on their plates. Parents are not managers for their athletes 24/7. They may have other kids, they have other projects, they have full-time jobs. So that's why I'm in the picture. And I always say that I am part of the team. And so it's very important for me to hold people accountable to the things that they said that they were going to do. Because if you said you're going to do it, that means chances are it's very important and you need to do it. So there's no sliding when it comes to my one-on-one athletes. For those in the outside world, so in my circle, there's no sliding either in my circle, no. And everybody know they can't bullcrap me. They already know they can't bullcrap me. It's just who I am. And that's why when a friend or two reaches out for me for help, I give a warning. Are you sure you want me to help you? And they're like, gee, yes, I know what you're going to say. I know how hard you're going to be on me, but this is what I want. So in my circle, my friends, there is no sliding either. For those people that I don't know and has absolutely nothing to do with me, I can't control that. I'm big on, as you know, I'm big on controlling the controllables. If people outside the world who have their own thoughts, their own opinions, especially those who are hard in their opinions, it's not beneficial for me to release all that energy trying to hold someone accountable who really don't want it and they didn't ask for help. So to answer your full question, for those who come to me for help, there's no sliding. For those who have no control over and have no business like talking to or have nothing to do with them, it's by case, right? It's by the situation. So if I'm ordering something online and they say, you're going to get your package within 7 to 10 days and it's 20 days, you best believe I'm writing the email saying, hey, this is what you agreed to. But again, for those in my circle, I'm not letting anything slide, because why would I have you live in a life that you're not trying to be your best? There's a quote by Kobe Bryant where it says, I don't like lazy people. We have nothing in common. That hit me to the core, because that is how I feel. And when I see lazy people, when I'm around lazy people, it makes my skin crawl. I can't control that, but I can control my response. And you're just not going to be a part of what I have going on. You just can't be a part of my circle at all.
Amen. Well, I can say for anyone listening, it's always professional. It's always to the point. It's never rude or anything like that.
Absolutely not.
Coach G always is just very blunt and just straight to the point and just is just a rough truth. So if you ain't ready for that rough truth, then buckle up. We're nearing the end of our hour together. I have one more question before we, because we want to promote your podcast and everything else that you're doing. But one other question, and then Coach Fowler, I'm sure has follow-up question. Outside of the growth mindset book, which has really changed my life, I hate to say it.
Like Carol Dweck?
Yes, ma'am. It says mindset, but everybody calls it the growth mindset. And I can say it changed my life because I hate to admit it, I'm a fixed mindset person. I was raised a fixed mindset person, and I'm still trying to break out of that fixed mindset. But outside of that book, are there any other books in this field that you can recommend to parents or anyone else that can help athletes get over that you really felt when you read this book? Wow, that really changed my life. Is there any book in this field that really helped?
Yeah, so I'm gonna piggyback off of your comment about the growth mindset book first. When I read that book and what I really took out, and I took a lot of things out of there about being okay with adversity and how adversity is a lesson. And so I tell everybody now, when adversity hits, I really I want to say I smile or I'm happy about it. I just know that there's a lesson in that adversity, or how I bounce back is going to make me stronger and much more resilient. So it's about accepting that adversity. Okay, this happened, but I like to say everything is figure outable. And I used to say that before I Googled it. I'm like, let me Google is figure outable as a word to begin with. But it's not a word, but there's a concept out there. And I truly believe that everything is figure outable. So we are not going to spend our time whining, complaining, and being sad about the situation. I mean, we could spend a day or 24 hours, depending on the situation. We could spend, an appropriate amount of time, but then it's about bouncing back. But I just want to say that about the fixed mindset and growth mindset piece. But the book I would highly recommend, I want to say it changed my life, but it gave me more insight into confidence. And it's a book called Confidence Gap by Dr. Harris. It goes into confidence, what confidence is, what confidence is not. From that book, I actually created a free ebook about the 6 reasons why athletes lack confidence and what you can do to fix them. So I believe he talks about the 6 reasons why. And so I kind of piggyback off of it, and I made some reflection questions as well. And I think the reflection question is a really big piece on why that ebook is really popular with those who visit my website or who ask for information from me. So if it's one book, it's called The Confidence Gap by Dr. Harris. And the reason why I'm mentioning that book, because a lot of athletes come to me because they lack confidence. So that would be the number 1 book.
Okay. Well, since you're such a disciplined and structured person, I am not going to try to get you over 8 o'clock. I want to go and Coach Fowler, any questions or thoughts or comments? What are your thoughts about this pod, Coach Fowler?
Listen, listening to this, I guess a question that popped into my mind was what would a session look like? That you would have, with your clients or whatnot. Because it just sounds amazing. Thinking of how mental sports are and how a lot of performances are not, or poor performances are not due to skill or anything like that. It's usually mental. This is actually has the gears turning in my head. So it's amazing to hear you talk about it. But that would be the one question that popped in my head.
Yeah. So, and I'm okay with going a little bit over time here. So my first session always is typically in the past, I used to have them fill out a questionnaire, and the questionnaire probably had 20 questions. And then the first session would have been a dig deeper session of, okay, tell me about question number 10. You answer this. I don't do that anymore. I did that in the beginning when I was new, but now that I'm seeing the same roadblocks, it's just automatic to me. So first session is me getting to know the athlete. I truly believe that you cannot help somebody if you don't know where they're coming from, and if you cannot build a relationship with them. So being able to build that relationship and trying to earn their trust is big for me. And just hearing some of the roadblocks and what I'd like to do, and if we ever meet up, you'll see me asking a lot of questions, because a lot of the answers that some of these athletes have is literally already inside of them. They just need someone to ask the right questions, and they need someone to make them aware of their thinking. I had one athlete, when I asked her about her her negative self-talk, or what does the self-talk look like? She said, I don't have self-talk. I don't self-talk. I don't do it. I'm like, are you sure? Yeah, I don't do that. And so it was a bunch of follow-up questions. Okay, when this happens, what thoughts typically pop up? Or what do you typically say to yourself? And by the end of the session, I could have written a whole book of her self-talk or her thoughts. So my main thing is helping athletes become aware. So that's really what a first session is like, is them getting to know me as well. Right. So in order for me to work with you, you have to know me. You have to know my background. You have to know who I am. Probably by the third session, you'll probably see my kids in the background, and I'm very private. If you check my social media, my kids are not in my social media. So for me to actually show you my kids during a session, like, that means a lot to me. So it's really building that relationship, and then challenging their thoughts, challenging any poor habits that they have, and just going from there. Every session is not the same, I would say. You'll have programs out there who say, week 1, we'll go over this, week 2, we'll go over this, week 3, we'll go over this. My program is not set by topic. If we're going over self-talk in week 1 and you're still struggling with self-talk in week 3, we're not jumping to another topic. We're staying with self-talk and finding ways how we can help you have more positive self-talk, more positive thoughts. So that's typically what a session looks like for me.
Okay. Well, Coach G, where can we find you, and where can people find out about both your podcast and also the services that you provide? Where can they be found?
Yes, everything is on my website, www.iammentallytough.com. My Instagram is IamMentallyTough. My email is Gladine Frasso at IamMentallyTough. And Instagram, all social media is the same.
Coach G, I am trying to be very disciplined and cutting this podcast at 8:05 because I really think the world of you, and I could talk to you all day long. You are just a wonderful person, and you perform a wonderful service. I cannot recommend you high enough. And I'm gonna put a caveat. I really think at the end, when you're done with an athlete, when you're finishing up, you should give the parents an option of, do you want to get Coach G's perspective on what you're messing up on? You know what I'm saying? So, because I think us parents, because you're dealing with the athlete, us parents, we need to hear. I ain't ready right now, Coach G. Don't tell me right now. Don't tell me right now. I'm not ready.
I was getting ready to say, are you really ready, Tony?
No, I ain't emotionally ready. But at the end, when you're done with my baby, I am gonna talk to my wife. Like, let us get it. Let us hear it, because we need to hear it as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you're really good about telling people that honest truth, and a lot of times we all have blind spots.
Mm-hmm.
You think you're doing a good job, and you especially with parenting, you don't know if you're doing a good job until the end. You don't know. You don't know how well you're doing until the end. So, Coach G, I think the world of you. I strongly encourage people to check you out. And thank you so much for joining our podcast. And I'm hoping that maybe for panel discussions or anything else, we would love to have you back on.
Absolutely. And I would love to be part of anything that you have going on. So thank you so much to the both of you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Coach. All right. God bless you now.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, now.